Hello and welcome to this tutorial brought to you by TGT Tutorials, and today I'm giving you a quick tutorial on how to create this, which I'm showing at this current time on my screen. So the first thing you want to do is open Photoshop and create a new file, document, whatever you call it, and you're going to call it Dimple Texture. I'm going to set the width to 10, the height to 12, and keep the resolution at 72, and we're going to leave everything else the same. Hit OK. So now I've got this little block where the dimple pattern's going to go. I'm going to hit Command or Control 0 to zoom in, and I'm going to fill this layer with grey so I can see what I'm doing even more. So I'm going to go Edit, Fill, and hit 50% grey, and leave the other things the same, normal 100% opacity. I'm going to hit OK, and then I'm going to select the Ellipto Marker tool, and to see the amount of pixels which I'm selecting, I'm going to go to Window and Info, which is F8 hotkey, and then I'm going to create select where my dimple wants to go. Hold by holding Shift, and from the top corner I'm going to wait until it says not that 4x4. It keeps doing that for some reason. 4x4, as you can see, width 4 pixels and height 4 pixels. So now we've done that, we're going to go to Layer to create a new layer. I'm going to call this layer Dimple, as this is going to be the dimple. I'm going to hit OK, so we've got this layer, and I'm going to fill this with black, the selection, by clicking Alt and Backspace if you have the black selected down here. So now I'm going to hit V. But before I do that, I'm going to hit Control D to deselect and collapse the info panel, and I'm going to move this down 1 with my arrow keys and across 1, so it's 1 pixel. It's got a 1 pixel gap between the edges. So now I've done that, I'm going to click Layer, Layer Style, Drop Shadow to create a drop shadow on this. I'm going to set the blend mode to normal, and the color to white, which is the code for that is hashtag FFFFF. And I'm going to deselect the use global light, and I'm going to set the angle to 90 degrees. This is kind of how we want it, but we want the drop shadow to be further up next to the dimple. So we're going to do this by setting the distance to 1 and the size to 0. So it creates a little white line underneath the main dimple so we can see it on a black line. So then we're going to hit OK to add this to our dimple, and then we're going to duplicate this layer so we can create another dimple. We can do that by hitting Command or Control J depending on what software you've got. And then now I've copied this, I'm going to select the Move tool by hitting V, and I'm going to nudge it down again with my arrow keys. So there's a 1 pixel gap between these two here, and then I'm going to nudge it over so it's right in the corner here. So now you've done that, we're going to delete the background by dragging it into the garbage can or hitting the delete button on your keyboard. So now we've just got 2 spots on a transparent background, and this is going to be our pattern. So we're going to hit Edit, Define Pattern, and we're just going to keep the name the same so we know what it's called when we're adding it to any background of your choice. So then hit OK, so it's now a pattern. So now we've created the pattern, we're going to test it out by creating a new document by going into File and New, or Control N, which is the hotkey, as so. And we're going to keep set the width to 1280 and the height 720 and the resolution to 72, and we're going to name it Dimple Test. So now we've created this document to test out our dimple pattern. We're not going to keep the background white as you won't be able to see the dimples, so we're going to fill it with this nice grey colour, and we're going to bring out the hue and saturation tool by hitting Command or Control U. I'm going to set the lightness to -80 to give this nice dark grey colour, but it's a bit boring with just this, so I'm going to add some lighting effects by going into Filter, Render and Lighting Effects, and I'm going to keep everything default how it is, as it looks like there's a light coming in from the top and bottom. Might move it up a bit. No. And I'm going to hit OK, so it gives us this nice background layer. So now we've got this nice background layer as our background. We're going to create a new layer. I'm just going to keep it layer 1. You can name it Dimples if you want, but at this current point we're going to select the layer and click Alt and Backspace to fill the whole layer with a black overlay over the main background. Then we're going to go to Layer, Layer Style, and Pattern Overlay, and if you've been following my tutorial, your pattern should appear in one of these boxes here. I've got 2 because I did this tutorial before when I showed you at the start. So you can't see the background at this point, so we don't want that. So we're going to go into blending options and set the fill opacity to 0 so you can see through the dimples onto the background, as you can see. But the dimples still stand out, so we're going to change the opacity of the dimples to around 30 or 25. I'm going to set it to 30 as it looks nicer. I'm going to hit OK, and then the background stands out more than in dimples, and it looks like they've blended in nicely. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. I'll see you in the next tutorial. If you like, comment, subscribe, I'll provide more good quality videos.